the security.
Adebayo, let's just get your overview of the digital economic policy. And of course, we do recognize that the telecom subsector has a huge role to play in this. What's your thinking about the digital economic policy? Will it take us to the promised land?
Thank you for having me, and I must say good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Honorable Minister. The policy has set out is quite a brilliant document and also very ambitious. As stakeholders, we are participating in the implementation of the policy, and we must thank the Honorable Minister for not only driving these policies as it is, but also for ensuring that the work is being done. The minister has succeeded after several previous ministers have made many efforts in reducing the cost of right-of-way. For the very first time in the history of the industry, we now have states providing right-of-way free of charge. Before now, right-of-way used to cost as much as 70% of the cost of deploying infrastructure. It could be cheaper before now to buy bandwidth between Canary Wharf in London and Lagos than it is to buy bandwidth between Lagos and Kano, traceable in part to the high cost of deployment due to excessive charges of right-of-way by state. But that is now becoming a story of the past due to the policy of government on digital economy and also due to the intervention of the Honorable Minister, for which we thank him. And also, we've had problems over the years of issue of vandalization of telecom infrastructure, which to a large extent has led to issues of poor quality of services. But very recently, again, through the intervention of the minister, for which we thank him and we thank Mr. President, telecommunications has now been declared as critical national security and economic infrastructure, and now we're enjoying the first level of protection by government. So this again will enhance this policy. This again will enhance implementation of this policy. And we do believe that with all these things in place, it's actually the right time to look at the future for the digital economy of Nigeria. Also now we have consistency in the leadership of our regulatory agency. The NCC now have consistency in its leadership. And we do believe that with the policy of government at the level of the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy being the supervisory ministry, and also the agenda of the NCC, we believe it will enhance again this policy of government, and we believe that we are on the right course and we're on the right path. There's something that is of concern as an industry that we need to begin to look at, and I'm glad that it's also in the view of the minister, and that is the sustenance of the digital skills. It's very important that we develop and sustain local digital skills. I'm glad about what the minister had said. But recent experience has shown that we are beginning to lose a lot of our young talents to other countries that provides them better social security and economic guarantees. And these are things that we need to look at more globally as a country, how to develop and sustain our digital skills, because knowledge is key to implementation of this policy. Knowledge is key to driving the sector, because being highly technology dependent sector, we must have the right skill and we must keep the right knowledge. So that's something that we need to begin to look at, the issue of our human capital, not only to develop them, but also to be able to sustain them. And with all this in the mix, we believe that over the next few years, we should begin to see reduction in the cost of end user services. I did say before now that we do not have enough resources in terms of fiber resources across the country. That's why it could be cheaper to buy bandwidth from between London and Lagos than it is between Lagos and Kano. But now that cost of right-of-way is coming down, it has had major impact in development in times past. But we hope now with this reduction by most states, we'll be able to deploy faster and also better. And at the end of the day, the users will benefit in terms of better pricing.
Okay, Mr. Gbenga, you know, I'm still going to stay with you. Mr. Agabi spoke about, you know, the security of the internet, and I would like to ask you this question. How safe are we with our information out there every day, you know, buying things, selling things? How safe are we?
We are quite safe and also very, very safe. The firewalls provided on the national network is highly secured, and the protection of those who are on the network is guaranteed. The reason being that the technology that we deploy here, they are not only future-proof, they are fortified to defend and protect the users against external interference. So we have no security guarantee, no security worries. We provide full security guarantee for those who use our networks and for those who are present on the cyberspace. We must just continue to be at the work. We mustn't let down our guards. But just to provide a straight answer to your question, the cyberspace today in Nigeria is quite secured and it is very, very safe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adebayo. We'll return to you in the course of
Africa's largest television network.
All right, well, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. Let's return to Mr. Gbenga Adebayo, who is with us via Skype. He's Chairman Association of Telecom Operators of Nigeria. I just wanted some clarification, and perhaps for you to have some instigation, assuming it doesn't already exist. We're talking about digital skills, and you did highlight the point that we needed to develop more of these skills and ensure that they are sustained and then retained within the system. The Honorable Minister has already talked also about some of the funding challenges that the ministry has, and therefore the likely knock-on effect that would have on the attainment of the key pillars of the digital economic policy. I was wondering, what can we expect the telecom operators to also do in this regard? Say, for instance, in terms of training for digital skills. In the past, you know this, NITEL, which was formerly P&T, had a training school somewhere there at Oshodi. Do the telecom companies, have their own training institutes and so on and so forth, perhaps for their own local staff in the first instance, and from which other persons can then also get in? Can we expect that kind of investment, for instance, from the telecom companies, and what more?
The industry today is training. We are training a lot of young people. A number of our members, a number of the operators, they do have cooperation and collaboration with different universities and polytechnics to develop middle-level skills and high-level skills, not just to support the industry, but in general to support the economy. We are also providing support for even the Digital Bridge Institute, which is owned by government, also under the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. And we farm into any opportunity for human capital development, any of such opportunity, whether at the level of part of our social intervention or part of our corporate social responsibility, that is being done at different levels by different operators. Just that we need to continue to upscale. We need to continue to improve the scale, we need to continue to improve the number. We also need to provide guarantees and security, because if you train these people and you are not able to hold them by way of providing them with sustainable jobs or support for their innovation, eventually you might lose them. So it's a collaborative effort that we need to continue to put together, not just as a sector, but as an industry, and to a large extent with other players in the economy. But permit me to speak briefly about the recent experience we have had on this issue of COVID-19 and also the lockdown. We do know that during those days of total lockdown, telecom was more or less the only infrastructure that continues to provide service and support for the economy. And I must once again thank the Honorable Minister, because in those days, we were able to obtain what we call right of passage for telecom operators and workers. The minister did assist in ensuring that the state government granted this, following the approval by the Office of the National Security Advisor. However, as you know, telecom today has presence in all local governments of the Federation. And we continue to talk about financial inclusion, we continue to talk about mobile money and the rest of them. I think in the next tier, the next layer of development of our digital economy, we need to begin to look at the possible participation of telecom operators in what we call the payment system banking. I say so because we talk now about social distancing and the rest of them. I still see in a number of banks how many people are on the queue in the mornings to do one form of transaction or the other in the banks. And I do think that if we have some form of payment system working through the telecom systems or telecom operators or telecom services, to certainly not only increase the financial inclusion, it will also provide access to a number of people who currently do not have access to some form of financial services. And I think it's something that we want to please challenge the Honorable Minister. You may want to intervene at the level of the CBN, talking about the collaboration between government agencies to ensure that those willing operators who might be willing to participate in the payment system backing allowed to do so in order to open up the economy, that layer of economy, and to have more people to be financially included in the current scheme of things, now that we're talking about a digital economy. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gbenga, in as much as we talk about opening the doors to digital economy and joining the world bandwagon, some of the charges in this country, we have one of the most expensive charges for using the internet in this country. How will that be achievable if most people can't afford to go online?
Well, we are on the right track. I mentioned in my earlier intervention about high cost of deployment. And part of what has led to high cost of service is actually the cost of providing service. And, always we say that price is a factor of production. You sell only at the rate at which it costs you to produce the service. So if you are laying fiber optic, for example, over a distance of 1 kilometer, the cost of the entire project to buy the fiber to do the work is 300,000 naira, and the state government wants 700,000 for rights of way. It's killing. Today we have a lot of capacity at the shores in Lagos because we have multiple sub-Atlantic cable landing there, but bandwidth is cheaper at that point than it is in other parts of the country.
All right, Mr. Adebayo, thank you very much. I mean, one should also note that during the lockdown and while the telecom services were on, we had some free SMS. I think up to 10 a day for one of the service providers, but I think that ended by the end of June. Yes. And since then, if you send any message now, your account goes immediately. Mr. Gbenga, thank you very much. All right, we have a number of tweets that have come in from our viewers. We quickly go local content in achieving all of this. We can't get into that right now. On that note, we'd like to thank all our three guests who've been with us this morning. Dr. Bayero Agabi, President, Center for Cyber Awareness and Development, thank you very much for your contribution to our discussion this morning. Thank you. From Lagos, we were joined via Skype by the Chairman Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, ALTON, Mr. Gbenga Adebayo. A pleasure always having you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, here with us in the Abuja studios, Dr. Issa Ali Pantami, Honorable Minister of Communications and the Digital Economy. Thank you very much for being part of our discussion this morning.
My pleasure.
So,